Okay, everybody, this is Sheets, and this is going to be pretty big, actually. I'm going to be doing a review of pretty much 4 tracks today. Now, just to let you know what that kind of entails, I mean, you think about this. If each of the tracks I'm doing has 10 races and 10 horses each on average, we're talking about going over about 400 horses. Now, I mean, I'm not going to go over 400 horses. I'm just going to highlight kind of the top picks today, but that's the kind of effort that goes into, doing 4 full cards like this. And this is kind of what my plan is when we roll things out kind of officially pretty soon, is that maybe on Saturdays where you have the biggest races and more people are kind of around that might want to bet, I will maybe do a review of the Saturday card. And again, presuming that, the time constraints are such that I can get this done, that's probably what the plan is going to be. So that's what we're looking to do, is Saturdays, kind of full slate review of all the races for the day that I think are relevant. And maybe during the week, if something really big comes up, we'll do kind of a special one. But so this is going to be sort of a test run, but I mean, this is some pretty valuable information here. This is 4 full cards of analysis with the results of them being conveyed to you guys. So hope you guys are taking advantage of this. We had a really good hit yesterday. We had a really nice $5,000 hit on the pick 3. But we'll talk about, we'll talk about this some other time. So we just kind of have to get it going here. So we're going to be highlighting 4 cards today: Churchill, Gulfstream, Santa Anita, and Tampa. We're not going to be doing Golden Gate. And I'm just kind of going to blast through and just kind of go over who I like. So we're going to start off with Gulfstream. Now you'll see that all 3 of these first tracks, Churchill, Gulfstream, and Tampa, start earlier. So you got to get on those quick. And then Santa Anita starts a little bit later. I'll post in the description the link to ExpressBet, where you want to get on there and bet where I bet. You can just go ahead and do that. I'm sure they have some kind of bonus available there for you. And this has just always been the easiest for me. We'll talk about other sites you can go on another time, but for now we're going to be focusing on ExpressBet. So no big carryovers to worry about. I mean, there are, but we're not going to go over the jackpot carryovers. We're just going to go over the betting. All right, so let's just go right after it. In the first race at Gulfstream, there are 3 horses I want to highlight here. Probably the best horse in the race, meaning the most likely winner, is going to be the 10, Budget Buster, who's currently listed at 9-2 morning line. So that's a pretty decent value. 2, Cardiac Kid is pretty good, but at that price, it's nothing to get that excited about. If you wanted to put a 3rd horse in here, this 7, 48 straight at 20-1 is incredibly long. So what I would do is, again, presuming that the odds are closely reflective of this, I think the 10 is probably the one to key. And if you really wanted to get, frisky, I would use the 7 also. So that's where I would start. The second race at Gulfstream, I like 2 horses here, and they're both going to be probably good odds. You have the 2, Macho de Oro, and the 10, Voices in the Darkness. Now, I'll just give you a little, again, if you watch this race, I don't know if you're going to bet and watch the races, you may as well, is both these horses are going to be probably far back, and it's going to be kind of difficult for them to work out the trip needed to win. But even still, I think that these 2 horses are really good values. Again, when you watch the race, you're probably going to get a little frustrated for the first half of the race, and you kind of need a lot of good things to happen for them to, work out good trips. But if they do, there are certainly good values to these prices. So I think the 2 and the 10 are really good. The where am I? 3rd race. So the 3rd race, I think the 6 is kind of a lock. So I don't really think that, you want to start by keying this race unless there's something else. I guess it's interesting. They have the 4 as the morning line favorite, but I think the 6 is clearly the most likely winner. So again, maybe another day we'll do betting strategy, but you wanted to use any of those horses we talked about in the first 2 races. I guess the 6 is good enough to make a pick 3 out of this. But you're probably better off just the first 2 races, just playing daily doubles. But then again, you have to see what those prices are going to be. So it's a little tricky. But let's be honest, the 6 is clearly the most likely winner here. All right, fourth race, there are two horses here that I want to highlight. The most likely winner is clearly, well, let's say clearly. The 10 Witch Hunter at 6-5 is a solid favorite, but at that price, I mean, it's fine. It's not that great, not that terrible. The horse that has a shot is the 3, Dakota Beach, 15-1. I think he probably has at least a, maybe a 15% chance to win. So that's about 6-7-1 implied odds. So I think if you do get 15-1 on this horse, getting pretty much double what his expected win rate is. So I would go ahead and bet the 3 probably if he's really long. So what you could do if you're a little bit of a wimp, you could play exactas 10-3, maybe 3-10. But the 3 is a very, very live long shot here, I think. All right, fifth race. The 2 horses I want to highlight are the 3 and the 4. That's American Ninja and Hot and Heavy, but there are other horses in here that have a chance. Like Mr. Discretionary, 7 is pretty good. The 12 is not bad. The 9, I actually think might be the most likely winner, actually. So this is already a kind of a messed up race. I mean, it's I don't know if you want to key much of anything here. I mean, the 3 and the 4 are fine at long shots, but the 9 is going to be the most likely winner. But again, he might be kind of short. So I really don't think this is the greatest betting race in the world. So just kind of take that for what it's worth. The 6th race, not really good value. Really don't want to spend any time on it. I may as well. I mean, I think the 1, 2, and the 8, and maybe even the 5, my first Grammy at 20-1, got a shot. So again, I wouldn't go bananas on this race, but if you had other horses you like in other races, you could play those horses as part of pick 3s and 4s and whatever. The 7th race is actually pretty interesting. I do think a horse that's the most likely winner here is the 10, who is 8-1. So you could key him on top, and there are other horses that you could use underneath, which are going to be the 2, the 3, the 6, and the 7. And you'll see the 2 is really long as well. So I think this is a pretty decent race to key. I would key the 10 Legendary Prince, and then you could put him on top of the 2, 3, 6, 7 if you want, in exactas, tries, and all that good stuff. But I think the 10 is a pretty good shot here. 8th race, all right. So I think that there's a lot of horses that can win. Again, I don't think it's anything to key, but if you're spreading in like pick 6s, pick 3s, things like that, you can go with all kinds of horses. Like you don't have to play the 6 Mystical Moon. I mean, he's fine. And 7 Devoted Kitten, but King Leonardo at 30-1's got a shot. Bold Painter at 10-1 may be the most likely winner. And this 11 Speed Gracer at 15-1. So if I were, really just kind of laying into this race, and I might actually, I might just do something crazy like just use the 8 and 11 or the 2, 8 and 11, just try to just get some long shots out there. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing, is something like 2, 8, 11 if they, if the odds kind of remain like that. 9th race, bad betting race. I wouldn't do it. I do like the 1, 2, and 7, but I would not bet that race at all. The 10th race, likewise, don't think it's a great betting race. I think the 3, 4 are okay values. So if you're going to bet it, I would say 3 and the 4 would be horses to use. Even the 7, Wile E. Coyote at 15-1's got a shot. But again, this is another race I really wouldn't go too crazy on. All right, the 11th race, I kind of looked at a bunch of times. And usually if you look at a bunch of times and and then you come up with something that you feel is a little fishy, it's probably not the greatest idea, but for whatever reason, I'm going to give this out anyway. When I first looked, I thought it was kind of a wide open race, and it probably is. Like the 3, the 4, the 9, who else I have? The 11, 13, and 14. The more I look at it, I really kind of like this 11 at 12-1. So again, this is like later in the day. If you're a little on tilt, you're not doing well, and you want to take a shot at a long shot, the 11 looking like a queen is certainly very, very strong value here. All right, so that's Golden Gate. Moving back towards Churchill, which goes off right around the same time. And, again, for those of you who know me from poker, for those of you who play poker, you talk about 16 tabling and 8 tabling tournaments and stuff like that. That's kind of what I end up doing sometimes when I bet all these tracks. Is there's like 4 tracks or 3 tracks going off within like 2 minutes of each other, race after race. And it's kind of tough to stay on top of everything, but it's part of what you do. All right, so the first race, the 9, is basically a lock. Very short price. If you want to try something, you could play a 9-14 exacta. The 14 is 15 to 1, and I think it's got a shot. Probably not going to beat the 9, but so that's what I'm probably do, is something like a 9-13 exacta. Now again, you have to learn like what these things are supposed to pay. You know what I mean? So which makes this a little hard. But so 9-14, it's paying like $50 maybe on a $2 bet. Maybe that's kind of the threshold, but I think that's got a shot. All right. Second race, 2, 3, and the 4. Nothing fancy there. I guess fancy in as much as I don't like the 6 as the favorite. I think the 2 is going to have it's going to kind of have things its own way, meaning that it's probably just going to get out there on the front, save all the ground, and it's going to make his life a little bit easier maybe than the 3 and the 4. But I think all 3 of them have a shot. So nothing to key, but I think that the 2 is, I think 2 and then 3, 4. Let's put it that way. Third race, at first look, I thought the 9 was going to be kind of the best value, but then I changed my mind. So let me just give you the horses that I kind of like. I do like the 9, and then the 10, 12, and 14. All right, and all those are pretty good prices. The 10s are pretty good price, I have to say. Actually, as a matter of disclosure, I forget what I said that last race about the about that 2 horse, maybe just having things his own way. Maybe I shouldn't get into that kind of stuff right now. And I'm not actually sure about that for that race anyway. So just go with the picks, actually. Don't worry about the analysis of the race per se. So here in the third race, we're going to like the 9. Maybe the 9 is maybe the best. I'm not sure. But 9, 10, 12, 14, all of them are really good prices. So you can use all 4 of them if you want. All right. Fourth race. The fourth race, I thought there were, it was kind of okay. Let's put it that way. This race is just kind of okay in the fourth race. I do like, let's go over who I like. I like the 6, Take Charge Glenda. And then also, what was it? The 8, Take Charge Patty. The 11, Bobby's Golden Girl. And then if these guys get in, Ocean Breeze is good. Market Rumor is okay. So again, I don't mean to hedge or anything like that. And I do think it's not really a race that you want to keep. But if any of those horses end up really, really long, I think I would take a shot at them. All right. So now we get to the 5th race? All right. So the 5th race is another one that I looked at 7 different times. And first time I looked at it, I said, you know what? It's basically all like 15 horses can win. Second time I looked at it, I said, you know what? There's one horse that just kind of stands out just a little bit. And then the third time I looked at it, I said, you know what? Forget that. It's just a wheel. But the fourth time I looked at it, you know what? I am going to take a shot at this horse. So we're going to take a shot at the 8, First Premio. I think he's just a little bit better than these. And if it's 12 to 1 or up, I think it's a good value. And yeah, so that's what I would do. First Premio, the 8 horse in that race. The 6th race, I think a lot of horses can win, but I do want to highlight my 2 values here. This is actually a really good betting race. Well, in as much as there are 2 strong values, and that's the 5 and the 6. Breaking News and Hidden Ruler. So we're going to go with those. The 7th race. All right, 7th race is interesting. So again, I don't want to get into too much of like in-race analysis, but I don't like the 8 all that much, but it's just going to have the race its own way. So what's going to happen is probably she's going to just get out on the front end and just kind of back the whole field down, which makes it really difficult for some of these horses to run the numbers they need to run to win. That's for another discussion. And I don't usually talk about that stuff because it's usually kind of an overvalued metric. But so where normally I would say the 8's a kind of a throwout, the way the race is going to go makes it likely she's going to save ground, which is going to put it's really going to make it difficult for some of these other horses. So there's the 8. The 4 is fine. I don't think the 4 is going to go off at 4-5. I really do think that the 8 might end up being the favorite because of what I just said. But the horse I'm going to key in on here is the 6, the Vault at 10-1. So what's going to happen is both these horses, the 4 and the 8, are just going to take all of the money, and this 6 could just get totally lost. So if the 6 is even remotely close to 10-1, I think it's a very, very strong value. Eighth race is just kind of a mess. I would not bet this race at all. All right, the 9th race is also kind of a mess, but I do want to outline one horse that, well, I'll go through the horses I like, and then I'm going to go the one horse I'm going to key on. Well, I say key on, but it's just really just super duper long. So the horse that I'm interested in general are the 4, even the 3, 4, what's it, 8, 9, who these 11, 13, 14, pretty much like a lot of horses here. But the 4 at 20-1 is just kind of off the charts long. You know what I mean? This could end up 40-1, and it's got good as chance of any of these others. So I think the 4 is an interesting long shot here. The 10th race is one course that's kind of interesting, and we'll talk about that. But we have the 1, the 2, the 6, and the 11. So you have all these horses are really long, especially this Mystic Guide. Does this actually have a chance? Let me just look at this really quickly. I'm going to go ahead and look at this really quickly while we here's some in-game research here. So let's take a look at the 10th race. It was the 10th race and the 10th race. Was it Mystic Guide that actually looked good? I'll take a look here real quick. Mystic Guide at that price is incredibly long. I mean, this is the hell. Let's take a look. This might be the best bet of the day, if you want to know the truth. I didn't even think about it this way, but like all these other horses are fine, but this Mystic Guide, 15-1, wow. I do like the 2, 6, and 11. An interesting little tidbit, the 10 actually just came off of surgery, whatever that means. But let's do it, man. Let's go for this 1. And the 6, this is very strong. And the 11th race, there are 3 horses I like, 5, 9, and the 11. 11 at 15-1, really long. I don't think it's I don't think it's something you key though. I think it's definitely worse than the 5 and the 9, but because it's 15-1, it makes them kind of equal. So I would use 5, 9, and 11, but geez, this 10th race is just so long. That's crazy. Okay, so we are just kind of moving along here. We're gonna get this done in an hour, the latest, I think. And again, we're not going to analyze everything. I'm just kind of giving you the results of my own analysis. All right, so Tampa, the first race, there are 2 horses I like. That's going to be the 4, WW Archie, and the 8, Starship Fonzie. I think they're both pretty equal. And actually, the 4 is a little better than the 8, a little bit, but because of the odds, I think they turn out to be kind of equal weights. So I think the 4 and the 8 should be used kind of together. Second race, I think the 3 is kind of a lock. It's going to go off of 3-5. Not much you can do with it. I guess what you could do is use the 1 and the 2 underneath, because I do like the 1 and the 2 more than the 4 and the 5, who are going to be lower prices. Third race, terrible betting race. No bet it. All right, the 4th race, there are 3 horses that are going to take money, and it's the 2, the 7, and the 8, and I actually think the 2 is very, very strong here. So I'm going to key the 2 here as the best value play in this race over the 7 and the 8. So we're going to key the 2 here. 5th race, no value at all. Also, the 6th race, I didn't like anything. 7th race, I didn't like much either. I guess if you had to, you could take the 8. Done acting. All right. So the 8th race is interesting. There are 2 horses. They both carry with them. I mean, I looked at this one a long time. There's actually one horse that if it goes off really long, you could try it. It's just not, though. I mean, the Great Ludini at 9, it's only going to be 9-2. Screw it. Not such a great betting race either. That's too bad. So it looks like Tampa's a pretty fishy card, no? I looked at this the same as the rest. So the 9th race, I like the 2, 6, and the 10, which are very, also the 12 and the 13 if they get in. So no great value there either. I mean, do I like not much anything at Tampa, right? I mean, to go back, I guess, first race, that 8 probably is good value. Remember, second race was that lock favorite. Third race was bad. Going back, 4th race was, the 4th race, you could key the 2, driving. I mean, that's not bad. But overall, I mean, just kind of a fishy card in general. Maybe the 8 and race 7. Boy, we're going to get through this faster than I thought because Tampa's awful today. Just not a lot of, that's the way it goes sometimes. It's not a lot of great value. You know, again, if you're watching, again, I can't do this. I can't just go through and say, hey, but if this horse goes over 20-1, you could bet it, because I'd have to really go through every bit of matrix, every bit of metric. But Tampa's probably, again, you could play just those couple of horses, and that's it. And that's the greatest part about betting online. I mean, it doesn't cost any extra to go to track and just bet one race. You know, imagine if you had to go to each track in person, pay a different admission fee to see all the races, and only bet a couple of them. That's pretty inefficient use of time. That's what's awesome about online, is you could bet like zillions of tracks at the same time. All right. We'll go through the last track, and that's going to be Santa Anita. I think there's some good values in here, but we'll just kind of take a look. 2 horses I like. Well, the 3 I like here, but 1 is really long. Race 1, I like the 1, 3, and the 11. You see the 11's pretty long, but the 3 at 15-1 is extremely good. That could be a key in here. So let's go with the 3, Big Cheddar at 15-1. All right. Second race, I think the 2 is kind of a lock at 8-5. So again, if you wanted to bet daily doubles in that first race with Big Cheddar, or maybe even the 11 there too, with the 2, I think you could eat a little bit of chalk there, just to get more action on that first race. The third race, while a lot of, it's a 6-horse race, so you might not get that great value, but I do think that the 6 is probably the most likely winner. And at 4-1, being the 4th choice, I think you could certainly go ahead and key that. And actually the 3 and the 5 are okay value here. So even within a 6-horse race, you could probably do something. You could play the 6 on top of the 3-5. You could box the 3-5-6. You could key all 3 of them. I mean, not the 1, 2, and the 4 are bad, but I just think they're no better, right? If that makes any sense, than 3, 5, and the 6. Right, the 4th race, maybe Santa Anita is the best track today. I'm not sure, because this 2, Tis Wonderfully is, it's kind of a lock. I don't know. It's 5-1 morning line. I think it's clearly the most likely winner, so I would definitely go after this one. 4 or 5, probably second best, but 2, Tis Wonderfully, I really do like a lot. 5th race, boy, here's another great one. 2 horses. I think it's kind of a 2-horse race. Maybe not a 2-horse race, maybe a 3-horse race. But Murad Khan at 10-1 is incredible. I mean, it's just the exact same, I think, winning chances as the favorites here. And at 10-1, that's just almost a joke. So I think the 3 is clearly the win, the key. I think the 6 is probably the best of the favorites. So key the 3 and then use the 6 also. 6th race, I think the 3 is kind of a lock. And if it goes on a 5-2, I would certainly bet. I think it's going to get bet down though. So But take a look. If the 3 somehow doesn't go off the favorite, I would certainly key that. And 2 is going to be second. Well, I see where we're headed here. I mean, guys, make sure you save your money for Santa Anita because there's some really, really good bets in here, actually. Wasn't really anticipating that. All right. 7th race is not so hot. I'll just go over the horses I like, but the 2 and the 4, actually the 2 at 12-1. So 2 and the 4, I think, are my 2 favorites. And then after that, we have kind of 7 and 9. So once again, I mean, this is a great card, man. So I would use the 2 and the 4 as kind of like my keys. And then I would also use these others, the 7 and the 9, because there's all these other races you could hook together. I think those are really, really good bets, actually. Boy, the 8th race too. So the 8th race, I like 3 horses, and one of them is 8-1. I mean, you have the 1, 5, and 6. I think are pretty equal, and the 1 at 8-1. I think you should really key this one. Santa Anita. This could be the track. I don't know. We'll see. And the 9th race, not a big deal. I mean, I'll throw it in who I like 4, 8, 12, 13 might be an okay value here. So, boy, if you could get a couple of these horses together, like let's say you wanted to bet to win on these horses I've talked about. Yeah, you could do that. Say you want to put exactas, you could do that too. If you string some of these together in like daily doubles and pick threes, I mean, these things could pay a shitload. Pardon my French, but they could. So I think it's worth going over the Santa Anita card again, just to remind you of who I liked here. This is kind of nuts. First of all, this 3 at 15-1 for race 1 is just amazing. Race 2 chalk, race 3, the 6 is fine. Like at Tampa, it might be the best bet of the day, the 6, just because there's nothing else going on over there. 4th race, the 2, 5-1. It's Murad Khan in the 5th race. 6th race, even decent favorite. 7th race was not a big deal, except maybe the 2 and the 4. 8th race, this 1 at 8-1. So, I mean, this is a great betting card at Santa Anita. So, again, keep your wits about you. If you're going to bet all these cards and bet everything I said, hang around all day for this, make sure you save a little energy for Santa Anita because there's some really good wagers on that card. So, I guess that's it for today. And, I'll get better at this because, again, I never really gave horse racing content out before. So I have to figure out the best way to present this. But for now, what I've heard, this is the way you guys want it. Just who do you like? What are good picks? And etc. So that's it. Those are the 4 main cards that I have for today, Saturday, May 23rd. And again, I'll post in the description a link for a referral code or whatever to sign up for ExpressBet if you want to bet there. But I guess that's it. Have a good Memorial Day weekend.